Yeah. I think it's on now. Is that better? Great. All right, so we'll start over. I'm calling the meeting to order. My name is Taylor Hartstein. I'm the hearing officer appointed by the Board of County Commissioners pursuant to the Sustainable Land Development Code. First, I would like to confirm with the staff that I know we're down one matter, I believe, today, but for the two matters that are proceeding, I want to confirm that the applicants and their agents who we're expecting are here, either in person or via video conference.
Hearing Officer Hartstein, the agents and applicants are here for agenda items A and B.
Thank you. And then I understand that there is an amendment or a change to the agenda with respect to item C. Is that right?
That is correct, Hearing Officer Hartstein. The agent was out of the country and was unable to attend the meeting, so they submitted a table letter and would like to be heard on January 8th at the next hearing officer meeting.
All right, that sounds good. So we'll proceed with case number 25-5230, which is the EPICO conceptual plan and adoption of use matrix of planned development district, as well as case number 25-5220, which is the Lee and Jacqueline Cordova variance request. I don't think we need to impose any special procedural rules today, given that there are only two matters, and I don't expect it to take an inordinate amount of time, but we can do that if we need to. I'll ask the staff now for presentation on case number 25-5230, the EPICO case. And I'm pronouncing it EPICO under the assumption that it rhymes with Tipico. If that's incorrect, somebody please correct me. Please go ahead. No.
Thank you, Hearing Officer Hartstein. I'm Kimberly Serrano, Building and Development Review Specialist Senior. Grand Prix de Santa Fe LLC applicant, Jenkins Gavin agent, requests approval of a conceptual plan to support redevelopment of the subject parcel as a 130-space RV campground and equestrian event center to be developed in 3 phases. The applicants also request to adopt the use matrix for the planned development district. The 57.086 acre property is within the planned development district. The site is located at 87 South Polo Drive within Section 17, Township 16 North, Range 8 East, SDA 1, Commission District 2. The Santa Fe Equestrian Center was established on an 80.63 acre parcel in 2015, which was later subdivided in 2023 into Tract 1, 2, and 3. Only Tract 1, comprising of 57.1 acres, is the subject of this application. Tracts 2 and 3 are not part of this request and remain bound by the existing entitlements described below. 2001, Santa Fe Horse Park Master Plan, Book 489, page 34 through 36. 2015, Santa Fe Equestrian Center Development Plan, Book 782, page 39 through 44. 2016, SLDC designates the 80.63 acres as PD13 Santa Fe Horse Park Plan Development District. 2023 Summary Division Plat, page 900, or Book 900, page 28 through 29, creating Tracts 1, 2, and 3. Tract 1 is currently operating as an equestrian and event center and includes a small RV campground area and associated bathhouse. Existing improvements also include a polo field, corrals, stables, event lawns, and utility infrastructure. The applicant is now requesting approval of a conceptual plan to support redevelopment of the subject parcel as a 130-space RV campground and equestrian event center, subject to the SLDC provisions governing planned development districts. The project will be developed in 3 phases. Phase 1, 50 RV spaces, including redevelopment of existing spaces along with south boundaries, existing mobile bathhouse, laundry, office structure. Phase 2, addition of 68 RV spaces, new bathhouse, laundry structure, office, wastewater treatment plant, and decommissioning of existing septic system. New access road from Polo Drive through Tract 2 easement. Phase 3, addition of 12 mobile glamping cottages. A site development plan will be submitted for each phase of development. Phases may be developed in subphases, and development of each subphase may not be sequential. The permissible uses are depicted on the conceptual plan are as follows: camps, camping, and related establishments, public assemblies, stables and other equestrian-related facilities, commercial over 12 horses, recreational facilities, outdoor RV storage, all residential uses. This application has been reviewed for compliance with the applicable standards set forth in Chapter 7, Sustainable Design Standards of the SLDC, conceptual plan approval criteria, access and roads, fire protection, landscaping and buffering, open space, water supply, wastewater, and water conservation, protection of historic and archaeological resources, terrain management. Staff recommendations. Staff has determined that the application for conceptual plan for phase 1 through 3 is in compliance with the subdivision and design standards set forth in the SLDC. Staff recommends approval for conceptual plan to support redevelopment of the subject parcel as a 130-space RV campground and equestrian center to be redeveloped in 3 phases, and to adopt the use matrix for the planned development district. Staff recommends approval of the conceptual plan subject to the following conditions. Hearing Officer Hartstein, may I enter these conditions into the record?
Yes, yes, the conditions are entered into the record.
Thank you. This report and the exhibits listed below are hereby submitted as part of the hearing record. Staff requests the hearing officer memorialize findings of facts and conclusions of law in a written recommended order. The Santa Fe County Planning Commission may be holding a public hearing on this matter on January 15th, 2026. Thank you, and I stand for questions.
Thank you, and I accept the staff report and exhibits A through J into the record. I did have one question about page 6 of the staff report. I believe there's a kind of a placeholder that in the discussion of the water budget that says add water budget here. But in my review of the record, I've noted that the water budget is included in exhibit H. Is that the water budget that's referred to in the staff report?
Yes, the water budget is submitted in Exhibit H, and we did send the review to Public Works. At this time, we have not had a response from them, but the water budget does appear to be sufficient.
All right. And then I note that also on page 6 of the staff report, certain agency approvals, the review comment section is listed as pending. That's for the County Public Works, which I think you may have just mentioned, the County Utilities, and the County Fire Marshal. Is there any update from the agencies on those?
Not at this time.
All right. I noted that in Exhibit G, there's an email from I believe it's from Glenda Weeke, who is a liquid waste specialist with the New Mexico Environmental Department. And I was wondering if that is the basis for the approval with conditions specified on page 6 from the New Mexico Environmental Department, if that refers to the email in Exhibit G.
They did respond. They responded to Jenkins and Gavin. The conditions had been addressed, and they have been updated with an engineer report. And she can speak more on that matter.
Understood. I just noted that there were a couple of issues raised by the email, so I wanted to make sure that if that is the approval conditions, that the applicant agrees to that, or if that has already been addressed.
Yes, it's been addressed.
All right, great. That's noted then. Excellent. I don't have any more questions for staff, and so
Thank you.
I'll excuse you at this time.
Thank you.
All right, I'll ask for the presentation of the applicant, and I note that Ms. Jenkins is here on behalf of the applicant.
I do. Jennifer Jenkins, 130 Grant Avenue. Is the clicker? Good afternoon, Hearing Officer Hartstein, It's nice to see you again. I'm Jennifer Jenkins with Jenkins Gavin. Thank you very much. Here on behalf of Grand Prix de Santa Fe and request for conceptual plan approval for the redevelopment of the Hippico. A little different emphasis on the syllable there.
I was pronouncing it in Spanish, so that's fine.
Exactly. You know, it is a Spanish word, so your pronunciation is probably way more accurate. So have a pretty brief presentation, so we'll go ahead and get through it and can address some of the questions you raised as well.
Sounds good. And we're going to do the same thing that we did last time, where I'm going to stand to the side.
Please do. That way I can point at things that you can see. So just a few introductions. I am joined by Brian Gonzalez and Guy McIlvain of Grand Prix de Santa Fe LLC, and our civil engineering and traffic engineering consultant, Mike Gomez with Santa Fe Engineering Consultants, is also here, and then landscape architecture provided by Design Office. I'm also joined by our geohydrologist with GZA, Megan Hodgins, is with us today. So this is the subject parcel. It is 57 acres. So if you're coming down way over here, you're on Airport Road and you pass the city's wastewater treatment plant, and then you start heading in a southwest trajectory down Paseo Real, heading toward La Cienega and La Cienega. This is you see the edge of a runway right here. This is the Santa Fe Airport. And this is the Hippico Equestrian and Event Center right here. The property was subdivided a couple of years ago to create 3 parcels. So this is tract 1, this is tract 2, and this is tract 3. Tract 1 is the subject of this application. We are not proposing any changes to tracts 2 and 3. This is Santa Fe County open space here. This kind of triangular piece here is leased by Grand Prix de Santa Fe from the city of Santa Fe, and which provides them control and access on Polo Drive from Paseo Real. We also have access out to County Road 56C on the south as well. So the property is zoned a planned development district. So back when the SLDC was being crafted, there were some existing master plans all throughout Santa Fe County that didn't really fit perfectly into one of the zoning categories that were being developed, because prior to 2016, the county didn't have, traditional zoning the way you would see like in the city. And so for those types of master plans, like I said, that didn't fit, they would establish them as planned development districts, meaning they were still subject to their master plan, which basically governed their zoning and their permissible uses. So like Las Campanas is a PD, Bishop's Lodge, Aldea, there's a handful of these, and they're all numbered in the code. So existing conditions here, the map's rotated a little bit, but this is the edge of Polo Drive as it comes through. There is an easement through Tract 2 right here to get to Tract 1. As you can see, we have a giant polo field. There are corrals and stables and all types of equestrian amenities. Down here is a small existing RV campground here, and this is the southern property line of Tract 1, and then this is Tract 3 that also has some horse facilities as well as a couple of residences as well. And there's also there's an arroyo here. There's a 100-year floodplain that moves through the property here. So this property has been through quite a few entitlement processes. Back in 2001, the Santa Fe Horse Park Master Plan was established. And then subsequently in 2015, there was a development plan for the Santa Fe Equestrian Center. And so those are the most recent entitlements. And then, as I mentioned, in 2016, based upon this master plan, Hippico was established as PD 13, Plan Development District 13. And then, as I mentioned, in 23, we did a summary subdivision plat to create the 3 distinct parcels. So currently, we are asking to establish basically a new PD on Tract 1 that'll have its own conceptual plan, or as it was previously referred to, its own master plan and its own collection of permissible uses. Tracts 2 and 3 will remain subject to the 2001 master plan as well as the 2015 development plan. So we're not proposing any changes to those entitlements as they relate to those tracts. And we are proposing an RV campground to be developed in 3 phases, and we will retain some equestrian and event type uses as well. So this is our conceptual plan. So again, this is the access, the existing access coming off, this is Polo Drive here. We have a great network of roadways that are existing on the property that are in really great condition, provide adequate width for emergency access and vehicular access. So let's just start on the south. So this is the area of the existing RV parking spaces. But as part of phase 1, we're basically going to expand that, and I'll go into the phasing plan because we want to do more pull-through spaces to allow for larger rigs. And you know, this is really being designed as a very nice RV campground. We have great access to open spaces. We are adjacent. This is all BLM land here to our west. And so this is, and you know, and astonishingly, Santa Fe is devoid of significant, given the tourist economy that we rely on here, there's not a lot of great places for people to come and park their RVs. It's not even a permissible use in the city of Santa Fe. So we feel like this is really going to be serving an important need in the community. And so we will start with phase 1 of 50 spaces. Then we'll expand to the north and we'll add another 68. And then in our third phase back here in this area is perched up a little higher. We're looking at kind of glamping cottages where people who don't have a rig but kind of want that experience can come. They can park up there. They can rent a cottage and it would be fully plumbed. And they'd have a little kitchenette and a bathroom, and they can be there and they can enjoy the open spaces. And so this is the edge of the floodplain that I mentioned. So we are respecting a 75-foot setback. In phase 2, we're also proposing a new office so as people come in, this is where they would go to check in. And this is kind of our central amenity area for the guests. We're going to have a new, we have an existing right here. This is a mobile bathhouse with a little office in it that sits here. And then in phase 2, we would develop this really nice outdoor area with a new bath and laundry house, yard games, you know, gathering spaces, seating, fire pits, all those types of amenities that people enjoy and they can gather. Down here, we're looking at a dog park because it seems like everybody who's got an RV has got a dog. I know it's true of me. So we wanted to create a space where people, you know, obviously they can walk all through here with their dog, but to create a fenced area where the dog can run around. And then over here, these are just our open green spaces, but these are also the event spaces. So these are the areas right now, if there's an equestrian event, if there's a car show, you know, or whatever there may be, they would take place in these areas over here. And then at the far north in this kind of triangular, we are going to be providing RV storage for local residents. There's not enough of that either. I'm lucky I've got a spot for mine, but I have a lot of friends who struggle every summer with finding a place to store their RV. So this is kind of perfect because it's not really as usable, you know, it's oddly shaped. So we thought this would be a really great spot. It can be secured and we can offer RV storage here as well. And then one thing I'd like to point out, so what is shown here in blue, this is the existing leach field for the existing septic system. Our current septic permit, we are approved to serve up to 50 RV spaces, which is our first phase. And this is the existing leach field, so we are protecting that so nobody's driving over it or anything of that nature. When we pivot into phase 2, we are going to be constructing a new wastewater treatment plant. in this location. So this area will be decommissioned. So the existing septic system will be decommissioned, it will be removed, and that space will be reclaimed. And then the phase one, as well as the future phases, will all be served by an on-site wastewater treatment plant. Our engineer prepared a preliminary engineering report that was submitted to the New Mexico Environment Department and was already approved. And so when we get into phase one with our site development plan for phase one, we will finalize that report. And then, actually, I'm sorry, for phase two, we will submit that final report and the final design for the system. And so just speaking to the comments we received from the Environmental Health Bureau, which is part of NMED, basically, Glenda, the email was a little challenging to follow. I think we can all agree to that. But it really came down to, there's some additional permitting steps we're going to need to go through when we move into the actual development stage. And that's what she was really pointing out. So we have acknowledged that, yes, we know we're going to have, a dump station here for people. That holding tank is going to need to be permitted. And so we met with her and we spoke with her and we've acknowledged that, yes. And so those conditions of approval you referenced were kind of pointing back to her comments that we acknowledge that there's some additional permitting that will come to pass at the permitting stage. So this is just zooming in. So this is kind of a typical RV space. So most of these are all pull through where nobody has to back in. I mean, if you ever tried to back in a fifth wheel, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's not fun. So these are all pull throughs. And so this would be the utility box here for all the connections. So each RV space will have water, power, and sewer. And then there's also space for vehicles to park. And then this is that glamping area over in the northwest side. So we would have a shared driveway, a couple of parking spaces for each cottage, and then there would be a cottage there, and we're gonna add some landscaping up in that area as well. And this kind of shows the landscaping that we're proposing kind of in those islands at each end of a row of RV spaces. And this is a zoom in on that outdoor amenity area. We have a small little dog area. We have a lawn, and again, lots of outdoor gathering space. So this just breaks down our development program. We have a 30% open space requirement, which we are exceeding by over 7 acres. This describes the phasing there, and then this describes the permissible uses that will be established in the conceptual plan that Kimberly went over. So this is the phasing plan. It's a little hard to see with the poche, but you can see, we got phase one, which is here and up here, and then we move into phase two, which grabs this row, and then over here, as well as that central area there, and then we have phase three over here. So one other thing I want to point out is there is a 50-foot access easement that was established when we did the subdivision along this south boundary of Tract 2, with the intent that this would become our primary access for the RV park. So as the campground grows, we really want to move our traffic out of going down the middle of Tract 2 and move it out to the edge. So this access will be constructed also as part of phase 2. So this describes the various uses in each phase. And then let's just talk about utilities real quick. So Hippico is served by the existing Hagerman well, and the Hagerman well is on a separate tract of land that's about 700 feet away, over by Tract 2, as kind of you enter the project on Polo Drive. And Hagerman well has been there for a very long time, and one of the unusual elements of this is that Grand Prix and Santa Fe County actually own that property as tenants in common. So in a 75-25 split interest. And so Hippico owns water rights of over 60 acre feet that is pertinent to that well. And that But as far as, and all of that 60 acre feet can be used for irrigation. When you see the existing conditions and the polo field and all things, there's a lot of water. And so very often they would exercise the full 60 acre feet on an annual basis for irrigation. And, but the consumptive use that isn't going into the ground is limited to half that number, or 30.35 acre feet. And so the 30 acre feet can be used pretty much for everything: domestic livestock, irrigation, municipal, industrial, and commercial uses. So one of the kind of interesting things about this application is with our water budget at full build out, as the RV campground grows, the irrigation is being reduced significantly, right? And so at full build out, we're proposing a water budget of 17.8 acre feet per year, which is a 70% reduction from the maximum water use that has been experienced on the property. And I think I already described the wastewater pretty well. We have an existing permit to serve phase 1. When we pivot into phase 2, we will be constructing the new wastewater treatment plant. So I just wanted to talk about access real quick. So as I mentioned, HIPACO leases this parcel here from the city of Santa Fe. That lease has been renewed just recently up to 2035. And so that gives them, basically control over Polo Drive, which is kind of the front door. And so when we pivot into phase 2, we're going to be, I didn't actually show it on this map, but the road's going to it's going to fork right here, and it's going to come down, and then it's going to come in here. And so we will isolate the RV campground access to here, and we won't send any more vehicles down this main drive here, but still utilizing Polo Drive. And down to the south, there's an easement through Tract 3 that gets us out to County Road 56C, and then back out to Paseo Real. And also, we have procured a 50-foot access easement along the west boundary of the city property that in the event, let's say, in 2036, the city doesn't want to renew our lease. Could happen. So this is our plan B. So we've already secured this easement is recorded. So that means our front door, our access would just move down to here. We'd come up, you'd hang a left, and in you go. So of course, we conducted a traffic study. So we worked with Santa Fe County Public Works to establish the scope for the study. So we studied 3 intersections: Paseo Real Polo Drive, Paseo Real, and Calle Debra, which is also the location of where our 50-foot access easement, kind of connects into Paseo Real, and then down here at 56C. And this are the levels of service that we analyze at each intersection. So the less the delay, the higher the level of service, the better the grade. The higher the delay, the worse the level of service. Probably comes as no surprise that we have great levels of service. Everything, operates at a level of service A in the build condition. And that completes. Oh, I did want to touch on one other thing. Let me just back up real quick. I'm actually going to use this map. So right here, this is where the Hagerman well is, in this little postage stamp right in the corner. The Hagerman well is there. We also have a couple of existing water storage tanks. We are going to be attaching a new draft hydrant. We have been working with the fire department on the fire protection plan for this, and we've reached out. We tried to get them to generate a memo for us, but we were unsuccessful, so hopefully we can get that before we go to Planning Commission. But we did work out our fire protection approach with the fire department to utilize those existing tanks, install a new draft hydrant, so then the fire department will have access. So we will have 30,000 gallons of storage, water storage, which is the typical requirement. And then we will have a new draft hydrant installed that to give the fire department access to that water. And that concludes my presentation. Let me just
Understood. Thank you for addressing the issue with the New Mexico Environmental Department. I had one question about the water use. I know that the Hagerman Well is joined in a joint tenancy between Grand Prix and HIPPCO. I also saw in the record that there is some planning for connecting to county water if that's necessary. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we had communications with kind of previous administration at county utilities. There is no plan that I'm aware of. There's been ideas. I think the county has expressed interest in trying to maybe get a water line to serve La Cienega, for example. But, we have not, based upon the county code, if we are not, we don't have any proximity to a county system, so there's no requirement to hook up that. But I'm not aware of any active plans to extend water into this area.
Okay. Is it your understanding that the Hagerman Well is sufficient for purposes of the fully developed project?
Yeah, we did a geohydrological analysis, and that well is fantastic. I mean, there are no issues at all with the water availability in the well.
Sounds good. I noticed that in some of the neighborhood commentary, there were questions about whether the RV park was going to be for long-term residency or for short-term residency. And just, I noted that on the permissible uses, it said all residential applications. I think the representation that was made to the member of the community or the neighborhood was that if there were going to be long-term residential uses, that would require a subsequent application. Is that
correct? So no, that's actually a really good question. I'm glad you brought that up. So this is not a man camp. This is not long-term living for people in RVs. This is transient, like a hotel. You come in for a weekend, you come in for a week. This is not long-term. The reason we included the residential uses in the use list is because we may want to have an on-site caretaker. Like the manager who lives there, maybe there would be, like when we build that office, we've been talking about putting, an apartment on the second floor for an on-site caretaker of the property. So we just wanted to capture that residential uses are permissible, but this is a transient facility. It is not proposed to be long-term.
I'm just going to quote from Exhibit D, and then I have a question. And I appreciate that response, and I note that it's consistent with the response in Exhibit D that said it's the equivalent of a hotel, maximum of 7-day increments, permanent residency would need an amendment to the development plan.
Correct.
So is it still your position that that permanent residency, other than for these caretakers, would require an amendment to the development?
Yes.
Okay. And so I think it's fair to say that the polo field is not going to be used for polo anymore. Is that accurate?
No, it actually hasn't been used for polo for a while. It's definitely been utilized.
I would imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I noticed that the application cited to policy 20.3 of the Sustainable Growth Management Plan, which is to preserve and protect wildlife, habitat, and to protect other significant interests that are articulated in the Sustainable Growth Management Plan. And in the plan, it indicates that a strategy to do this is to coordinate with wildlife conservation organizations and state agencies. I know that HIPPCO has coordinated with the New Mexico Environmental Department. Has it coordinated with any other conservation organizations or any other state agencies?
Well, actually, we coordinated very closely with the county open space planning because of our adjacency to county open space and our adjacency to the floodplain. So we did, and there is some recreational activity that occurs on the county open space, not in any sort of formal way. I think the county's looking at opportunities to develop that open space a little more and make it a little more formalized. But right now it's some footpaths and some hiking and biking. So we did meet and we did a site visit with them to talk about how we would be, fencing the property, where they wanted to make sure that there weren't any vehicles like ATVs. Sometimes people have a toy hauler and they got an ATV that they haul around with their RV, wanted to make sure that we were securing the site so no ATV activity could make its way into the county open space. So we did have a really good dialogue with them about how we would secure the property in that regard.
And then I guess my final question, and I think the word has probably worked its way to the English language now, but glamping just refers to glamorous camping, right?
Right, exactly.
Right, excellent. And that's phase 3?
Yeah, that would be phase 3, yeah.
Okay, and I guess it's there's no requirement that the character of the land use remain equestrian. I understand that there will be equestrian events and there will be facilities
Yeah.
for horses.
Sure.
Is the idea to kind of expand it to other tourist activities?
Yeah, and they have been doing other types of events out there for many years. In addition to the, a lot of different, jumping events and horse shows and things of that nature. They've done outdoor concerts, they've done car shows, there's been all kinds of stuff. So that event element would remain. And it's just going to be isolated to that northern side of the property.
Okay, understood. I don't have any questions for
Great.
the applicant or
Great.
the agent. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, hearing officer.
Is there anyone else present, either, let's start with in person, who would like to make a statement about this application? All right, seeing no indication of anyone in person, I'll ask if there's anybody who's joined us via video conference who's interested in making a statement in this case.
Hearing Officer Hartstein, there's no one online showing that they wish to speak on the behalf of this project.
All right, in that case, I will consider the matter submitted and I will issue written findings of fact and conclusions of law and a recommendation within 15 business days. Thank you. All right, so at this time, I'll call case number 25-5220, Lee and Jacqueline Cordova, variance request. And I'll ask the staff to give its presentation.
Thank you, Hearing Officer Hartstein. Destiny Romero, Building and Development Review Specialist Senior. Lee Cordova and Jacqueline Cordova request a variance of Chapter 9, Section 9.13.3.2.1.d, Pojoaque Valley Community District Overlay Setbacks Traditional Community of the Sustainable Land Development Code. The request is to allow an unpermitted accessory structure directly on the property line. The property is located at 11 Camino Catalina. The property lies within the Pojoaque Valley Community District Overlay Commission District 1. The property currently has one single-family dwelling and 7 accessory structures. One of the accessory structures was properly permitted. The other 6 are unpermitted, and if permitted to remain, will require after-the-fact permitting. Camino Catalina is a county-maintained road which takes access via Feather Catcher and Feather Road. The applicants have addressed the variance criteria, and staff has responded to the applicant's comments as contained in the memo. Building and Development Services staff has reviewed this request for compliance with pertinent SLDC requirements and finds that the facts presented do not support the request for a variance. As stated above, staff does not believe applicants have made a showing that any of the variance criteria of SLDC 4.9.7.4 have been satisfied. Staff recommends denial of the requested variance of Chapter 9, Section 9.13.3.2.1.d, setbacks of the Pojoaque Valley Community District Overlay Traditional Community to allow an unpermitted accessory structure less than the minimum setback requirements. If the hearing officer finds that the application has met the variance criteria and recommends approval of the variance, staff recommends the following conditions at a minimum be imposed. Hearing Officer Hartstein, may I enter the conditions into the record?
Yes, the conditions in the staff report are entered into the record. Thank you.
To be clear, staff's identification of these conditions is not intended as an indication that staff approves or would approve the granting of the requested variance. Staff's position is that this application does not comply with the SLDC and does not satisfy the variance criteria of Section 4.9.7.4, and that no conditions, regardless of how carefully crafted, can justify that noncompliance. These conditions are presented simply to inform the hearing officer of recommended conditions if the evidence presented convinces you that approval of this variance is in fact warranted. Thank you. I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Romero, and I'll note that the staff report and exhibits A through I are admitted into the record. I have a couple of questions. You noted that 6 of the 7 structures were not permitted appropriately, and that one of them was permitted appropriately. Do you know whether the permitted structure was built by the current owner?
Hearing Officer Hartstein, yes, the current, the one that was permitted with Santa Fe County was built by the current owner, and that one, just to let you know, is the attached garage to the residence.
Okay. And was that built before the other structures or after the other structures, if you know?
That one was built in '09.
And do you know when the other structures were built?
Hearing Officer Hartstein, we do not, there was no permits for it, so we couldn't tell when they were placed.
And the issue of permitting prior to them being built is different than the zoning variance that we're requesting, right? So my understanding is if the zoning variance is granted, then there still needs to be a permit for the remaining 6 structures that don't have a permit, right?
Hearing Officer Hartstein, that is correct. Santa Fe County will be requesting for them to apply for after-the-fact permits for those structures.
Okay. I noted that there was also a letter in this case, or an email in this case, from the New Mexico Environmental Health Bureau, from the Environmental Department. Are you aware of whether any of the structures that we're talking about, these 7 structures, are on a septic leach field?
Hearing Officer Hartstein, staff went out there and they weren't on the where NMED thought they were, and on the site plan that the applicant provided to staff as well, it signifies that they are a ways from the septic.
And I don't know if you have Exhibit C in front of you, but if you do, you? So for Exhibit C, are we talking about the structures being the carport that's attached to the house on the north side of the property? That's the one you referred to that was appropriately permitted, correct?
Hearing Officer Hartstein, no, sir. That will be the garage that is near the south property boundary line that is attached to the residence.
Okay, so the garage is one of the structures that was permitted, and then the other 6 are the carport on the north side, and then I think there's 3 sheds on the east side, camping trailer, excuse me, and then another camping trailer. Those are the 7 structures that we're talking about?
Hearing Officer Hartstein, those are the 6 that are unpermitted. The 5 that are near the east property line, and then the one that is going for the variance right now that is on the north property line.
Right, and then the south side garage is the permitted. And is that, does the garage, is that within 10 feet of the property line?
Hearing Officer Hartstein, that does meet the property setbacks. It's a good ways away from the property line.
Okay.
Hearing Officer Hartstein, it is important to note that in 2009, the ordinance allowed up to 5 feet, and that was just a recommended setback, so they could get up to the property boundary in 2009-ish.
Do you know, Ms. Romero, whether the other structures were built prior to 2009, the ones that were not permitted?
Hearing Officer Hartstein, I believe I would defer that question to the applicant for a better answer for that.
Okay.
I believe they were placed after 2009.
Okay. All right, I don't have any further questions for staff. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to ask the applicant to approach the podium and to be sworn in.
Hearing Officer Hartstein. My name is Jacqueline Cordova. And what else did you say? 11 Camino Catalina, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87506.
And same from Mr. Cordova, if you don't mind.
My name is Lee Cordova. I'm in 11 Camino Catalina.
All right. So if you have something, if you'd like to kind of affirmatively present before I ask questions, that's fine. Otherwise, I'm happy to just ask a few questions.
Okay, so actually, the house was placed in 2009, late 2009. The other structures on the property that they're referring to were actually just carports. They're movable structures. At the time when we purchased those, the people we purchased them from, they said that we do not need permits for those structures because they were movable. And now the structure we just put, it's a carport basically just to protect our company vehicle and all the tools and everything inside the truck, and just to provide shelter for other vehicles. And no, I'm talking about the new structure that we just put. That was just built just to provide shelter for like the other vehicles.
Okay.
We didn't do it out of any harm or malice.
Setting aside the carport that's attached to the house, the movable structures that you were referring to, were those already on the property when you purchased the property, or did you put those on the property?
We put them on the property after, so 2009 we got our house, and after the fact, and we didn't do them all at one time.
Do you
But we
remember
were
approx-
informed. Oh, sorry.
Do you remember just kind of, you can approximate, but
Probably like 2010.
late 2010?
2000, yeah.
For all of them or for?
Yeah, pretty much all of them, just like all within.
Small trailer. Excuse me, except for the small trailer, one of the carports, I put it about 7 years ago,
7 years ago, so that would have been approximately 2018.
something like that.
Okay. The standard that's articulated in the Sustainable Land Development Code for a variance is for exceptional situations or conditions of the property, or peculiar and exceptional undue hardships. Excuse me, peculiar and exceptional practical difficulties or exceptional and undue hardships. So I note in your application, you noted that it is basically it's expensive to build the attached carport, and that the hardship or the burden on you would be having to move it or having to alter it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Other than the cost of having to move the carports, including the other movable carports, are there any other particular hardships that you would experience from if the variance were not granted?
Not that I can think of.
Is it setting aside the carport, is it possible to move the other structures to comply with the setback requirement?
I think they are all in compliance. The ones that weren't, that we didn't need permits for at the time.
So I understand that the previous homeowner indicated to you that you didn't need permits for it. I think that the staff has made a determination that 6 of the 7 structures actually did need permits. I won't weigh in on that because I'm the hearing officer for the variance request. But I guess, so these other 6 structures, are they set back 10 feet from the property line is my question.
It's supposed to be 5 feet.
So
Okay,
I understand that it was 5 feet at one time. I believe based on the staff report, and staff, you can chime in on this if you'd like to, but I believe that based on the staff report, the current requirement is 10 feet. Is that right?
We have a paper that.
Hearing Officer Hartstein, so the current property line setback is 5 feet. The way that code is written, it's a little, misunderstanding. But 10 feet is only, I think, if it's a 0 lot line. Or if there was an existing 0 lot line, it's a little bit confusing. But we would refer back to Chapter 7 and go back to the 5 feet setback.
Okay. And that's for all of the structures, or just for the ones that, setting aside the attached carport?
All structures.
Understood. Thank you. And thank you. I appreciate everyone bearing with me on that.
You're fine.
5 feet. Understood. Okay.
And at this time, basically, we're just asking, we would like to just mitigate if there's any problem with the runoff of water. We're willing to put rain gutters, rain barrels, whatever need be. If there's any concern with the fire hazard, it's built of brick. It's already fireproof. It has the stucco, which is the concrete. So if there's any other concerns, we're willing to mitigate and do whatever we can just to prevent further expense. And And I don't know if you have anything to say.
Hearing officer, just to, those other carports that I have, they are more than 10 feet in from property line. There's one that's close to 8 feet.
Okay. I think we've established that the standard is 5 feet, so I understand that, and I appreciate the clarification. So just, I think you've addressed the peculiar and exceptional practical difficulties and exceptional and undue hardships. I would like to ask, just because it's part of the standard, are there any exceptional situations or conditions of the property that affect the determination regarding the variance request? Is there anything about the property that is unique or that is causing the carport to have to be within 5 feet of the property line, the one that's attached to the house?
One that we just built.
Yes.
It's not hurting anything as far as where it is, or I think the only concern was really just the runoff of the water and the fire hazard.
And then I noted that there was a letter in the record from, I believe it was Gary and Lorraine Johnson, and I think they indicated that the carport is actually over the property line. Is it your understanding that the carport is within the property line or that it extends over the property line?
Hearing officer, when I first started building, I went and I checked where my mark was for my property line. My fence line, it was about 5 inches, 6 inches from that stake. I went the other day to go check to see that stake. That stake is gone. So I can't prove. I can tell you that it's in our property.
Okay, so your position is that it's within the property line?
Yes.
It doesn't extend over the property line?
And the marker was removed. You can tell it was dug out from the ground. So, I don't know.
Is the marker something that you put there or something that was
No,
put there by the
something when
county?
they surveyed our property,
Surveyed, okay.
when we bought the property. It was like a metal stake, like a nail head.
Okay. And I think you mentioned that one of the carports, the attached carport, is used for a company vehicle. Are the other carports all used for personal vehicles?
Yes.
Are those all cars, or are there other kinds of vehicles in there?
Just cars and four-wheelers and campers.
Trailers and that.
Yeah, the campers. It's just to protect the structures or the things we have. It actually looks really nice, I think. It's not an eyesore, so I don't know why it would be hurting anyone or anything.
Okay. Are there any other facts that you think are significant for the variance determination?
You know what, we're just asking basically if we can mitigate and come to an agreement by adding the rain gutters, rain barrels, doing whatever we can without having to take it down or do anything else to prevent that extra cost. And everyone else in the neighborhood, we sent the letter to, I don't know how many people, like 50 letters were sent out or so. And we got calls from several people that said they didn't know what it was bothering or what it was hurting, and that they were fine with whatever. And so we only basically had my aunt that wasn't for it.
Okay. And if the variance request were approved, would you agree to the 4 conditions that are specified in the staff report?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
If the variance request were approved, would you agree to the 4 conditions that are specified in the staff report? There are, I can read them out if that's helpful.
Yeah, please.
The first is that all future development of the property shall comply with the requirements of the Sustainable Land Development Code and Pojoaque. I'm on the right case, yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
The Pojoaque Valley Community District Overlay and any other applicable county ordinances, except as expressly modified by the variance approval. Second, that the variance shall automatically expire within 1 year of approval unless a plat implementing the variance is filed. So it's basically you would have to file a plat, or it would automatically the variance would automatically expire. Third, that the applicants will be required to obtain an after-the-fact development permit for the accessory structure / carport and all other structures that are over 120 square feet. And fourth, that the applicant will be required to implement a rain gutter system on the accessory structure placed directly on property line. I think that's the attached carport that we're talking about, that diverts the water from neighboring properties. Would you agree to all of those conditions if the variance were approved?
Yes, we'll do whatever we need to.
Okay. Anything else from the applicants?
No, we just want to mitigate and just make things right, whatever we can do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So at this time, I would like to open to the floor to any, and you can take a seat again.
Thank you.
I would like to open the floor to any neighbors, community organizations, or residential organizations who'd like to make a statement in this matter. And I see we have someone in person. Welcome. And please, we're going to swear you in and then just state your name and address.
Yes. My name's Lorraine Johnson. My address is 59 Feather Road, Santa Fe, New Mexico. Good afternoon, Officer Hartstein. My name's Lorraine Johnson. Gary Johnson and I are opposing the variance request by Leah and Jacqueline Cordova. Our property is adjacent to their property and is negatively impacted by the carport they built. The proposed variance would permit the encroachment of a non-regulation carport that is built over the property line by 2 to 4 inches. Their carport is 68 feet long, and is 11 inches from the property line. But the roof is over the property line instead of 5 feet setback. This is not a small structure. Approving an after-the-fact variance would disregard the zoning ordinance regulations that are made to protect all residents. The roof on their structure is encroaching on our property and is contributing to flooding, water pools, and drainage issues. This is not a hardship case due to any property condition like size or shape. It's a self-created situation. This is a self-imposed hardship due to their actions by not getting a permit and violating setback rules. The encroaching structure poses a safety risk by potentially creating a fire hazard. If our well house catches fire that is next to their structure, then we are liable for damages. If in the event their structure catches fire, then our well house is at a significant risk. Also, therefore, it would be a safety risk for both parties. The non-compliant structure is a factor that diminishes our property value. Again, their roof is encroaching over the property line and will negatively impact our property value and our rights. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. I just have kind of one follow-up question, and I will
Yes.
note also that part of the review criteria for the variance request is whether the request is contrary to the public interest. You are a neighbor and also a member of the public, but I think you indicated that your property value is impacted, that there's a potential danger from fire risk. Any other negative impact to you and Mr. Johnson from the structure?
No other negative impact, but the setback is a 5-foot rule. So right now it's 11 inches, but the roof is over the property line.
Right.
So I believe it should be according to the zoning code regulations.
Thank you. And the purpose of the questions is just to develop the record so that all of the facts are available to me when I write my my recommendation. So I noted the uniqueness of the property conditions. That's part of this hardship special conditions prong. The other prong, the public interest prong, and just the negative impact kind of evaluation is. Basically, I'm asking you in order to give you the opportunity to put everything any negative impact to you on the record for part of the determination.
Again, the expense of modifying the illegal structure is not a valid hardship. Also, I had mentioned to Mr. Cordova that I was thinking of getting metal carport in my front yard, and he told me I needed a permit. He mentioned to me.
Getting what?
I mentioned to Mr. Cordova that I was also thinking of getting a carport.
Carport. Okay.
And he told me that I needed a permit.
Understood.
So I don't believe the expense is a valid hardship. And
that's a
there's
determination
no, yeah, there's no unique property condition.
Thanks. And I appreciate your input on that. The other factor is that whether the spirit of the Sustainable Land Development Code is observed and substantial justice is done. And I think that that touches on what you're saying about, it's a general rule, and that is something that obviously will be considered. But I appreciate your input on, I guess, you noted that the roof overhanging your property or encroaching onto your property affects your interest. I assume, and I've seen in the record, that some of that involves the water runoff from the roof.
Yes.
If you could explain how that affects, how that negatively affects your property, I think that would help develop the record in this case.
Well, I mean, right now with the rain, all the rain falling over, and there's Exhibit I, and there's several pictures, so you can see the flooding in the yard. If you look at Exhibit
seen
I,
that,
there's,
yes.
okay.
Okay, so the flooding is the main concern with the
Yeah,
roof?
our major concern, I mean, that is part of the concern, but what about the 5-foot setback rule? That's a big violation.
Thank you, I understand,
Okay.
and that's part of my consideration as well. And again, the purpose of this hearing is just to make sure
Okay.
we have all the facts.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I understand that there is a dispute as to whether the structure goes over the property line. I would like to ask the applicant to come up, because the applicant always has the last word in these cases. But I just have one question about that dispute. I know that you were discussing the stake and putting and measuring the distance to the property line. Did that account for the roof, or was that just the body of the structure itself? So do you dispute that the roof overhangs your neighbor's property?
You know what? I don't know who's measured it
Okay.
to really say. And
Okay.
like we said, that stake in the ground is gone, so we don't even know where our property line is, because I know when we put our fence along her property line, we put the fence a little bit in from that metal stake that was in the ground. And when we put it in, that gave us a little leeway there. So who's to say that that's overhanging
Okay,
the property
so
line?
that's
We don't
an
really-
issue that potentially is still in dispute.
Yeah, we don't really know.
I understand the positions of both the applicant and the Johnsons on that. Because the applicants always get the last word in these, I'd just like to open the floor to you if there's anything else you'd like to say about the application.
Excuse me, hearing officer?
Sorry,
Excuse me.
I forgot to ask for public comment in addition to Ms. Johnson. Is there anyone else that we have here?
Hearing Officer Hartstein, we
Yes.
do have Gary Johnson online wishing to speak.
I appreciate that. Sorry, I don't have the video in front of me, and so I missed out on that. So you can take a seat, and then I'll call you up for the last word
Okay, thank
after
you.
Mr. Johnson speaks.
Thank you.
And my apologies for that, everyone. Mr. Johnson, please, I'm sorry I may have overlooked you as a potential someone who's testifying in this matter, who's giving a comment in this matter. Please state your name and your address, and we'll swear you in, and then we'll hear from you.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes,
do
my-
you swear or affirm, sir, that your testimony will be the truth?
Yes, I do.
And state your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Gary Johnson. I live at 1024 Calle de Sueños in Santa Fe, but I am the property owner of the 59 Feather Road property.
Okay, thank you. And yes, I'll open the floor to you, and if I have any questions, I'll ask you after you make your statement.
Yes, so the well house that we're talking about in question, we've had one fire there already. So in speaking with my insurance carrier, they informed me that if we have a fire in our well house and it catches their structure on fire, that we are liable for any damage to their property. So that in itself is a major concern because the new carport that was built within the last year is right up. It's within 5 feet of that well house, and so the liability involved is huge. And I understand what they're testifying about the stake being moved. I can tell you that in some of the photographs you can see some old posts where the original fence line was, and those were the posts that were present when her dad. And Mr. Cordova put a new fence, and that fence was actually about 3 inches or 4 to 5 inches closer on our side of the property. So, you know, the question was, you know, he's saying that the stake that one time that you know they went by that stake. That stake was in place up until the time that that fence was built. So I couldn't even tell you which stake they're talking about, because after that they built the fence, I haven't seen it. So my concern also is that the house at 59 Feather Road, it's not on a permanent foundation. It sits on blocks. So it's a double wide mobile home that sits on blocks, and naturally, being concerned, any flooding to that property, you know, may affect the stability of that house. And I understand they said they want to mitigate and possibly put, you know, some drainage, but any drainage that they would add on that side would already be on our side of the property. So they would be encroaching further on our side of the property, and thus getting closer to that well house. You know, I mean, I honestly believe all this could have been avoided with just some neighborly conversation back and forth, but you know, that didn't occur. So you know, unfortunately, we're in this position now. You know, so in talking with our insurance carrier, again, we would be liable for any damage to their property, you know, and you know, vice versa. I mean, so we again are requesting that that the request for variance be denied, and based off the liability and the harm to that property in itself, and you know, having that property so close to the property line does adversely affect the value of the property. And we again ask for your consideration in denying the request. Thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate the additional information about the information from the insurance carrier. So I just for clarity on the record, I understand that the Johnsons are saying that the negative impact on them is the potential liability, as you were informed by the insurance carrier, the actual fire risk, there's a drainage issue with the rain running off onto your property, and I understand that there's this additional interest in just, you know, rule abiding that Ms. Johnson articulated, and the property value of the home you were also claiming is of your home, your property is negatively impacted. Is there anything else in terms of quality of life or value of the property, or anything else to add to the record about the impact of the carport being within 5 feet of the property line that you'd like to make part of the record?
Yes, sir. Just one more thing. And if the county needs to see proof of a previous fire, right? That the well house wall that's directly that faces the new carport, there's still a burn hole that was burned through that side of the wall. And so my concern is, again, we've had one fire in that well house already, and a second fire, you know, it could be catastrophic to both properties.
When was that prior fire?
That prior fire was probably within the last 10 years.
And you're saying there was property
It sparked,
damage?
yeah, there was property, and the property and the damage to the wall is still evident. And that was one of my biggest concerns in contacting the insurance company when they built the structure. I wanted to make sure that that if we had a subsequent fire in there, that we wouldn't be liable for any damage to their property. And our insurance carrier informed us that that wouldn't be correct. We would be fully responsible for any damage that originated from that well house that caught their structure on fire.
Okay, understood. Thank you for your testimony. And is there anyone else? If you have anything else to say, I'd welcome it at this time. But otherwise, I'd like to ask the staff if there's anyone else on the video.
Hearing Officer Hartstein, there's nobody else online with their hand raised wishing to speak on this matter.
Okay. So at this time, I'd like to call the applicants back to the podium, just if they have any final comments on this matter.
Hearing Officer Hartstein, I would like to note that Gary Johnson has not been at that address for probably 16, 17 plus years, so I don't know why it would have any negative effect or impact on him. I would also like to say that we would like to do whatever we can, again, mitigate anything that we can to make it fireproof if we have to put a brick wall between us, as Gary Johnson had wanted to do. 16 years ago, he wanted to split the cost and do a brick wall and provide Lorraine Johnson with a new house, but they weren't even together at the time. So I don't know what the negative impact really would be. And we do have insurance as well on our house and everything too to help with whatever if anything were to go down like that.
Hearing officer, I want to say that they're concerned about a fire, okay? There's a tree that her wire runs through, and it touches the tree. We've had to call HEMES, I don't know how many times, because it sparks. They have not even tried to cut down the tree, nothing. But that tree, every time it snows or something, it's always sparking, and that concerns me of starting a fire.
Because the tree is encroaching on our property as well. And it's like on the ground, like not only encroaching, it's like hanging on the ground on our side of the fence as well. So that to me is more of a fire hazard than the stucco and the brick.
Okay.
And the little well house that's next to us.
Okay, understood. And the rules, the procedural rules, don't provide for Mr. Johnson to do a rebuttal for that. But I understand that he is the property owner. I think you addressed the negative impact on him since he hasn't been there. But I understand that he is the policyholder of the insurance and is the owner of the property. And I'll consider that. And I have unless Mr. Johnson, unless that you'd like to correct that, that's my understanding.
Yeah, as far as I know, they've been separated since 17 plus years.
Right, and that's not really relevant to my consideration. I think you had addressed what his interest would be, and I was just noting for the record that as the property owner, I kind of recognize that he has an interest in the value of the property and in the potential insurance ramifications. And I just wanted to make that clear. But I appreciate your presentation. I appreciate the request that you're making, and I will submit a written recommendation and findings of law and findings of fact within 15 business days. Thank you.
Hearing Officer Hartstein, thank you so much for hearing us today.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. At this point, I would like to conclude proceedings for today and wish everybody happy holidays, and we'll be back here in January. Thanks.